Cipriani. Pleasure. Pleasure to meet you, Mark Cipriani.
I'll be here too. Ken.
Good afternoon, and thank you again for allowing us to be part of the process, the RP process, and to be able to showcase a world-class real estate services firm like NGKF, along with my team and the management, our management services platform and solution. To my left is Rich Barra, who's the associate director, who we will be involved with this asset. Should be awarded in terms of the transition, a lot of the people process. To my right is Cindy Osmundson, the associate director. She'll be covering the leasing strategy on this asset. And I also have Mark Cipriani, who's our national director of Atlantic County, who talked about the accounting process, which I know is very important to KPS and the overall technology behind it all. So, congratulations on the purchase of this asset. Hopefully, for the offering memorandum that you provided us in confidence, you took advantage of Cantor. They're our sister company involved with financing, so maybe they helped you out as a solution. But we'll cover some of the Georgia workforce 2020 study that we looked into regarding this market there, as it's key in terms of property that has low vacancy compared to its competitive set in the market in the area. And what about some of the drivers and how does it look for in the future over the next 5 years? So one of the market overview, the Atlanta and Cobb County have 206 commercial office properties, totaling about 96 million square feet, a diverse assortment of owners and property managers, so it's a competitive market. Certainly we like to be there, so certainly you have a lot of options, and we hope we are one of those that you choose to manage this asset. Of the 206 commercial properties, there are 25 that are managed by a Big Four, which is part of it as well. Positive projections of growth over the next 5 years with the STEM, the biotech, and the healthcare sectors. And the service sector at large bode well for the office market. So we think, as Cindy will cover some of that with the leasing strategy about what we're looking to do to help get this asset up to a higher level of occupancy. And the tires at Wildwood, if you look at this asset compared to the Atlanta market, have a 10% to 15% better rental rate or lower rental rate than the Atlanta market proper. So we think it has a lot of attractive options for tenants in the market. We put together in this little handout a little bit of a Scott analysis for you. One of the strengths we looked at was certainly large blocks of continuous floor space, the big blocks for big block users. We also believe that driving off of the workforce study that there's a great incubator space as well for smaller tech firms, biotech, and healthcare. The great highway transportation infrastructure for ease of access that's been put forth by Georgia, the state of Georgia, which will ease, I think, some of the congestion associated with the new stadium that's going in there. We also covered some of the weaknesses. You have a 24-year-old asset while they put some capital dollars into it. Some of the big items that need to be addressed, and Rich will cover that in this analysis. You have a 37% vacancy, and you have some finishes that are certainly dated if you look at your competitors in the market. The challenges there, larger tenants nearing lease expiration over the next 4 years. So clearly you've got to work with a team that can partner with the leasing initiative to get the leasing going, create some momentum before that 4-year mark hits when you have large tenants leaving the property or potentially leaving the property. We don't know what you've reserved, but we're hoping you've got sufficient capital reserves for what's going to be needed for the capital program, additionally TIs and commissions. And the parking ratio is 3.05 to 1,000 is low, when given that tech market or tech users have a lot more density in their office and a lot more people driving. So you might be able to restructure the parking lot, create a couple more spaces for compact cars, or possibly put together some kind of bus or transportation jitney for people getting to and from the property. The opportunities, the future home of Atlanta Braves, positive growth in terms of the job sector. We think it bodes well in terms of there are a lot of white collar jobs looking for growth pace. This property has traditionally been, been a laggard to its competitors in terms of its leasing, so we think if we dovetail with the leasing effort, we'll get, with the leasing team, we'll get this property up to where it belongs. And the last, I guess, the competitive advantage, as we mentioned before, from downtown Renton. So with that, I will turn it over to the team that will talk about the people, process, and technology, and then we'll wrap it up.
Good afternoon again. I wanted to talk briefly about the staffing. My approach to staffing is a little different than you find in the industry. Two of the criteria used were, one was GSA standards. The other is based upon a standard work hour for non-recurring tasks. What that is I actually spent a lot of my career in project management, so I've taken what I believe is best practice of different disciplines and incorporated them here. So standard hours basically, out of 1 hour, 15 minutes are actual work. 15 minutes are downtime. 15 minutes are set up in education time for the task. And the other 15 minutes are basically gathering the tools and so forth to actually do the task. So I've taken that into account, and I've come up with that staff in here. Now, all the engineers we specified here are truly engineers. Because of the central plant, I don't believe having helpers or people who don't have that capability, that's the appropriate way to go. The shifts have been staggered so that overtime is minimized when there's a shift coverage. And then the other thing that I think is unique here is the chief engineer is responsible for Energy Star. I know most buildings, it's the property manager's responsibility, but if you look at where most of the Energy Star rating is based upon, it's based upon your hours of operation and what you operate the facility. So maybe making the chief engineer responsible for that, he has ownership of that portion of this. Also, we've had two of the engineers are going to be tower specific. That'll help cut down on the downtime and travel time in between the towers, and it makes them, again, have ownership of that particular piece of equipment. That was a technique that I used at the World Trade Center, and it's also something I've used in pretty much every tower I've operated since then.
I got a question for you.
Sure.
You guys, two of the engineers, 2 11 to 8.
Right.
Are we
Most of the
part of operating hours to 8?
Most of the maintenance is right after hours.
Oh, okay.
So having them at a later shift would cut down on the overtime field that maintenance.
That's more cleaner. Okay.
On the next page, we talk about the maintenance approach, and our CCMS preferred program is Angus. I have experience with WorkSpeed, DataStream, and Aware Manager. If you choose a different platform, you'll have some of those as well. So, maintenance is something that's very near and dear to me. It has been my entire career. Well, I never worked in an engine room. I actually started out my career as a mechanical engineer, so I'm very familiar with all the aspects that go into this. The big impact on your facility. By using the system effectively, we can recapture about 75% of the labor that's actually going into the facility. The baseline for most facilities is around 50%, so this is exceptional, and it's something I've achieved in the past, and I'm very comfortable that we can accomplish it here as well. The other benefits are maintaining a high tenant level of satisfaction. Obviously, part of the CCMS program is incorporating tenant requests in there, and since it's electronic, they'll get feedback instantaneously on where we're in the process of the ticket that they initiated, and completion and follow up by the management staff as to the satisfaction with their result. Big advantage, obviously, is extending equipment life and reducing operating costs by tracking this closely. As mentioned, there was a couple of capital projects we have identified. One of them is Atrium Balkan. Back in the mid-1980s, I had the opportunity to work on a project with IBM. Their architect was IMK. And I became very close friends with the project manager and the architect. And he told me that the concept of the pyramid came into existence during that period of time because there was a great King Tuttons that were going on, and he was inspired by that. How much of that is actually true, it seems to say with a little tongue-in-cheek, but in any event, the pyramid became the driving force for their designs in the future. One thing to note also is that well, the pyramid is the most famous of it. Every couple of years, they come out with a different design concept, and it's incorporated into their buildings by their various support engine architects, and anyone who puts it in their design gets a very big bonus for one up forward their design. So the atrium, that kind of leads into the atrium parking. I've dealt with a number of these over the years. Unfortunately, they're notorious for leaking. So, and it's primarily at the contact points between the building and any other structure. So the contact with the building and where you have revolving doors are the issues where most likely to occur. Considering the age of the building, you think it's something that's going to have to be addressed in short order. The roof is 24 years old. It's the original roof. One thing I don't know if we have yet is, but certainly look at the warranty roof and if it's transported to the new ownership. In any event, 30 years is probably the maximum we're going to get out of any roof of this age. Window caulking, again, based on the age of the building and the fact that back in early 1990s, the sealants that we use aren't up to the rated standards of the Campano silicones. So they're probably reaching their end, but I think it would be money well spent to address that sooner than later. Fire alarm system, again, kind of goes to the age of the systems, 30 years past its expected life cycle. The last thing we want to address, and it's kind of a major one, is chill replacement. They are close to the end of this cycle. There's an issue that's coming up very shortly, and that's the phasing out of the current refrigerants as of January 1, 2020. That kind of fits right in the middle of your hold period based on the understanding. And as with that date, what's going to happen is going to stop manufacturing refrigerant. So it will no longer be made, but it will still be available for some period of time. No one's really quite sure.
So you're telling me that in 5 years,
Yes.
it's not making a difference?
Yes, there'll be no more.
You get recycled.
There'll be some recycled, but no more manufacture of floor hydrocarbons in the United States anyway. So as much as it's maybe not as big an issue for this building, it's something you can think of in the future that this is happening. It's an EPA standard that we're going to get recently. The problem is ASHRAE hasn't come out with a replacement yet. A couple of things they're talking about is propane and pentane and, ironically, ammonia, which Freon was created to replace ammonia.
Circle where it started.
So those are the things, again, it's not something you may not have to address in the holding period, but it may be an issue for next purchase going down the road. So, along those capital projects, just wanted to let you know about the project management group. They're all professional project managers. You don't hire people who just become project managers by virtue of the fact that they happen to be around when you did work. They're primarily lead accredited, and the advantage of us helping you with your project management is the purchasing power that we bring to the organization. Any questions on that?
Right there.
Okay. I'm going to talk a little bit about accounting and reporting. Newmark Rhode Frank is very much aware that accounting and reporting is very important to KBS. We understand that you have very stringent and very tight reporting requirements. We've got a great deal of experience with institutional investors such as yourselves, including KBS. So we feel that our platform is a very good fit for accomplishing your goals and objectives. Just to give you a little bit of a breakdown on our group, we have over 60 full-time employees in our accounting centers in Pittsburgh and Chicago. We have a very tenured staff, which I think is very important. The average tenure of our professional staff is about 10 years, which gives us a great deal of depth and a great deal of coverage and a great deal of choice with respect to matching the skills of the people on staff with particular requirements for your assets. We have a very stringent internal control framework. We are SSA 16 SOC 1 Type 2 compliant. We have been for the last 7 years. We know how very important that is to you. We've had discussions with your team before, with your assistant controller, Sue Meinhardt, who has placed a great deal of emphasis on that, and we're happy to be able to provide that to you at your request for your review. Our policies and procedures, while they're field tested, they're documented, but we also do a very good job of employing best practices. This is a constantly evolving process. We have to continue to keep up with the requirements of our clients, and so as things change and as new opportunities present themselves, we're able to easily incorporate them into our documented controls. Our primary accounting system we use is MRI. We put about $1.5 billion a year in annual throughput through that system on behalf of all our clients nationwide. We also utilize AvidXchange, which is an electronic invoice reporting tool, which allows invoices to be processed electronically directly from the vendor to Avid and then to the managers for approval before payment, all without any paper touching anybody's desk. All you need is an internet connection or a smart tablet, and you can, wherever you are, go in and approve and review your invoices, just as if you were sitting at your desk stamping and writing. It's done a great deal. It's a great deal of time savings for our clients because obviously we want our managers to be managing and to be developing tenant relations and not spending time opening mail and coding invoices. And we will have a dedicated team to KBS that with the appropriate backup and support to ensure that there's always continuity with this asset as well as any additional assets that we may acquire. And this is an approach we employ with all of our national type accounts. And just to talk a little bit about our technology solutions, MRI, as I said, is our accounting system of choice. We've been using MRI since 1995. We've got a great deal of functionality and flexibility with that system. It's not on the template necessarily, but we've got about 60 years of in-house programming that allows us to make use of the report writers and the customizations that are available in MRI. We do not use the developer for anything. We're able to make everything happen in-house, and I really think that's one of the things that sets us apart from our competitors. We can operate on any monthly reporting schedule. We can use any chart of accounts. We have the ability to report on budgets and do reforecast throughout the year, and we can also directly interface with any dashboard, database, any client's accounting system such as JD Edwards, SAP. We also interface with Angus with respect to chargebacks and work orders. And all of that happens electronically behind the scenes. The fewer touches on paper and on files, the better for everybody.
I have a question.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. The monthly reports that are likely generated from MRI and any budgets that come through, what's the process as far as from the property team to the client, to us? Is anyone else looking at them on your team? How does it work?
We have a documented process that we use as part of the monthly closing. Once the basic applications of accounts payable and commercial management are closed, then a documented review process begins between the property manager and the property accountant. So the property manager, there's actually a checklist that each has to complete and sign as part of this process. So the property manager will review the accounts receivable aging, we'll review the management fee calculations, we'll start the review of the budget variances, et cetera, while the accountant will also be reviewing the accruals and making sure the journal entries are posted, completing the bank reconciliation. And it's kind of a back and forth process between the property manager and the property accountant. Once that's completed, the property manager signs off, the property accountant then signs off on it, then it goes to the accounts manager, who does one final review before it's released as final, either directly to the client or back to the manager for release.
This is every month?
Every month.
Now, what about budgeting? Is that something more on the local level that you guys are reviewing for your charge of property
Yes.
management? Are you reviewing your property manager's budgets before they get to clients?
And then I just have a few comments here about Avid Exchange, which I kind of already described. But what's important about Avid is also the flexibility. It is an internet-based platform, so as I said, if you have an internet connection, you'll be able to get your work done. Invoices are scanned by Avid and posted electronically. They're stored electronically, which cuts down the need for on-site storage. They're kept forever. You know, if you were to sell the building or you were to move on with your business, we would be able to cut a CD or a flash drive with the invoice information on it and provide it to you at your request. It's also very convenient for the managers when they're doing escalation or CAM calculations, because you know, they can just pull the invoices right off the system without having to call accounts payable and say, hey, can you pull these electric invoices for the last 12 months? So it just makes life easier all the way around. One of the key things about it, though, is that we can customize the workflows based on your specific requirements with respect to approval levels. So, including having you involved in the approval process, if that's part of the management contract. If you want to approve amounts over a certain dollar amount or construction projects or whatever, we can build the workflow for those specific types of expenses so that once they go through the internal approvals, that they would go to you for final review and approval as well before any payment would occur. And once all the approvals occur, they automatically interface into MRI, and then they go out as open, go into MRI as open invoices, and then they're queued for payment. So, you know, it's a very effective tool. The clients that are using it are embracing it. As I said, it cuts down the storage costs. It certainly eliminated the possibility of lost invoices, which was always the case when you know, things were traveling via FedEx across the country. So and that's pretty much our technology solutions. We're not using it for everything. There's a cost associated with it. It's actually a minimal cost. It's about 45 cents an invoice for Avid to scan the invoices, plus a monthly maintenance fee of about $25 a month. So if you're processing maybe 50 invoices a month, you're probably talking about maybe $800 a year in cost. But some clients prefer not to have that cost. Some clients maybe want to have the paper invoices returned to them. Some clients want to review the invoices. Some clients may be using a different system that doesn't interface well with Avid, and it's just easier to use you know, the traditional means. But we defer to them. We promote it as much as possible.
Rachel, you brought up a point about budgeting and financial reporting. Was KBS having any issues in terms of this property or anything else within the...
Not necessarily this property, but we've had some circumstances lately that we've gotten budgets from property managers that weren't complete, or there were some errors. And so it's kind of an expectation of ours for our market leaders to take a look at those before they get to us. It's just kind of a quality control, make sure they're at the highest level of it. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. I wasn't going to say it.
No, it was a New York thing.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Thank you. I'd like to talk a little bit about our partnership with the leasing team, although we're not the leasing team in JKF. We realize because this is the largest vacancy factor in the market, that's a really important piece of our management team having a synergistic relationship with the brokerage team. So we met with them to find out the history of the tenancy, the current market conditions, and the current tenants that are available in the marketplace as to who they're going to market to and how we might be able to assist in that. So they're going to be re-imaging the building out in the brokerage community, which in today's world is quite simply more cost effective with marketing and emails and open houses, et cetera. And so the good news is the property is well exposed. It's got a great reputation, as well as KBS coming in as the ownership is a strong, solid reputation for brokers and the tenants to come in to a building knowing you're going to provide a professional business working environment. Our part in re-imaging the property, we believe we can build from the current platform of the conference center. There's a large management office, so we want to put in a 5-star concierge type of management services. And to be cost conscious, because we've got a lot of capital that's going to be outgoing on this property, we feel that we can train and retrain the management staff to to expand on our current services, not into the shuttle services and such yet, but really just expand on the great things that we offer right now with the cafes. So part of that retraining is not just for our staff, but the engineers, the day porters, all the vendors, anyone that's at the property and is touching any of our tenants. We want them to have the concierge level of service and customer satisfaction. As part of that, to further our relationship with the brokerage team, we all know that brokers want to be treated with VIP service. So part of that retraining is having every engineer, day porter, they're aware of the brokers, who they are, the security officers, the management staff, obviously, knowing when the tours are,